I am astounded at the lack of the fear of the Lord and the lack of biblical knowledge among those who would call themselves the ministers of Christ.
Welcome, welcome to Rightly Dividing the Word. And we're going to finish off the series dealing with fear. Please go back and review the first two that were done. And this will be the last one in the series. And so, once again, the topic for today is fear versus reverence. In keeping with a theme that I'm going to keep going, which is scripture versus the ideas of theology and ideology. Scripture versus the ideas of theology and ideology. So basically, what I'm stating is we've been taught a lot of things growing up about the word, and we're just going to see and rightly dividing the word. Is what we taught consistent with what the word actually says? Not here to debunk anything, because once again, we're just trying to see if what we've been taught, the ideology or our theology, holds up to what's actually in the word. So it can actually strengthen our understanding of the word. So keep an open mind throughout these lessons.
One word for fear means to reverence.
So, according to Dr. Charles Stanley, hopefully you heard that, um, one of the biblical definitions for fear is to have reverence. So, my question is fear and reverence the same? Is fear and reverence the same? All right. And I've already stated before, we're just trying to see if what Dr. Charles Stanley holds up. Does that theology I was taught as a kid, does it hold up to what's actually in the scripture? So, and we're just going to look at that. Not here to debunk anything. Fear. Fear is the unpleasant emotion caused by the belief that someone or something is dangerous, likely to cause pain or a threat. I'm not going to belabor what fear is because I think everybody knows what fear is. And I've dealt with the topic in two other lessons. And with that being stated, from Genesis to Revelation, fear means exactly this. I'm going to say it again. From Genesis through Revelation, fear means exactly this. All right. So the question becomes, can you really love someone if you fear them? Can you really love someone if you fear them? This is a question that has come up. Uh, I've as early as today, I've heard while listening to another ministry, this question came up: how do you fear the Lord? If you look on YouTube, there's a million ideas, teachings on how do you really fear the Lord, or how do you really fear God. And most and oftentimes, it comes back to fear and reverence are the same thing. All right. But that, and that was with this question being asked so often and with people feeling this, that's when it changed in terms of prior to about the mid 80s, man, if you went to church, fear did not mean reverence. And if you went to a Baptist, Pentecostal, apostolic, fear did not mean reverence at all. And Like I said, if you were in church at that time, most of y'all know what I'm talking about. There was a heavy, 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 heavy burden of fear based theology that was from the early 1900s to the mid 80s. And fear, and somewhere along the way, that fear theology switched over to a victory based theology. Also, amongst this time, when you had this victory based theology, prosperity was thrown in there, and everybody know about prosperity, so I don't have to go into that, have to belabor that. But went from a fear base to prosperity slash victory. And then with the onset of COVID, it's been a resurgence of a fear based theology. Okay. It's been a resurgence. And what I mean, it's been a uptick of end of time sermons. He's coming. And I'm not stating that he's not coming. I believe in the second coming. He is coming. I have no doubt in my mind. But it's been an uptick of that increased frequency and intensity of end of time messages. And honestly, there's only one message to it if you listen to everybody. Somehow it's going to get back to the same message. Get saved now because he's on his way back. If you don't, you're going to hell. That's it in a nutshell. Man, that's the gist of the message. Get saved now. If you ain't saved, get saved because he's coming back sooner than later. If you don't, you're going to hell. Bottom line. So this question came up in me again because I've noticed an increase in the fear-based theology. So I move on. Reverence. Reverence. Deep respect for someone or something. Regard or treat with deep respect. And reverence is in the Bible, from Genesis to Revelation. To be exact, from Leviticus all the way the last time I think you said in the King. So let me step back. In the King James Version, the first time you see reverence, uh, it is in Leviticus when God says, uh, and I'm paraphrasing basically, and we shall have reverence for my sanctuary. We should have reverence for my sanctuary. All right. And Hebrews, I think 12:28 is the last time in the King James Bible you see reverence. But whenever you see reverence in the Bible, there's no substitution. It's not meant to say fear. You cannot, and if you read it in context, there's no interchange of fear and reverence. So, and because both words are in the Bible and both words are used, I personally don't do not like to then therefore try to use or try to formulate a definition for a word that's not congruent or consistent with how it's used in the word. So that's why I want to make the distinction. Fear is in the Bible, and every time you say it, it means just that. And reverence is in the Bible, and it means just that. Okay? But fear to have deep respect for something. So here's the thing about reverence. You can have reverence for something without fear. You can have reverence for something without fear. Most people respect local clergy. Most people. I'm not gonna say all of y'all, but most people, even if you're an unbeliever, there's a certain amount of respect that you give to a clergy member. All right. Same thing with doctors. Uh, there's a certain amount of respect that people just give doctors without without fearing them. Matter of fact, they have no fear but they have respect for them. Okay? So you can have reverence without fear. And that's why I'm trying to let you all know that reverence and fear are not the same thing. Okay? Yes, you can have reverence in association with fear, and sometimes you have reverence because of that fear. Example, if a gunman showed up to my house, I even take that back. So if I'm driving, get stopped at a light, somebody jump out their car, carjacking me, and they got a gun, guess what? I'm giving up my car. I'm giving it up. But if somebody jumped out their car without a gun trying to open my door, I ain't giving up my car, at least not without a fight. See, if you take away that fear, then I'm not going to respect what you're trying to do. I'm not going to respect that command because I have no fear of you. So so see the difference. So fear-based theology is just that. It's the gunman. You showing up. So if you take hell off the table, would many of you choose salvation? And I'm not saying all, but would many of you, if there was no threat of hell, if there was no threat of this end of times he's coming, and somebody tell you, well, he ain't coming for another million years, would people choose salvation if you take that off the table? I think the Bible addresses this. I think the Bible addresses this. So Luke 20, 12, 14. Luke chapter 20, verse 12 through 14. And the background to this is a lord of a vineyard went on a vacation, went somewhere, who knows. When he left um, some gardeners, rustlemen, cattlemen, and the King James version states husbandman as the steward of his vineyard. And while he was gone, because he was gone for so long, they start cutting up, mistreating the servants, start doing things they weren't supposed to do. So the Lord of the vineyard sent initially two emissaries, but they had no respect. They sent one back, wounded one. And so we pick up the story in 12, and it states, and again, he sent a third, and they wounded him also and cast him out. Then said the Lord of the vineyard, what shall I do? Will I send my beloved, correction, I will send my beloved son. It will be, correction, it may be they will reverence him when they see him. But when the husbandmen saw him, they reasoned among themselves, this is the heir. Come, let us kill him, that the inheritance may be ours. No respect, none. So look at us today. We know hell and the end of time is on the table. And we still have no respect. You turn to any social media channel, you all have seen, you all are understanding what I'm saying. I don't have to belabor the point of how there's people are lawless, people don't care, no respect for their parents, no respect for their elders. And you all have witnessed, and you all know what I'm talking about. no respect, none. Hell, no fear either. So, and this is with hell on the table. So, if you take it off the table, what? So, the answer to the original question is fear and reverence the same? No. But guess what? At the end of the day, we need both, as stated in Hebrews 12:28. Wherefore, we receiving a kingdom which cannot be moved. Let us have grace whereby we may serve acceptably with reverence and godly fear. So I asked the question that I asked in the previous lessons. How do I fear the Lord? 1 John 4:16. And we have known and believed that the love that God had to us. God is love. And he that dwelleth in love dwelleth in God, and God in him. 1 John 4:18. There is no fear in love, but perfect love casteth out fear, because fear had torment. He that feared is not made perfect in love. How do I fear God? I choose to submit to his love. Through that, he casts out fear. Because of that, I will have no torment. Because of that, his love will be made perfect in me. How do I fear God? How do I reverence God? By submission, by submission, by submission to his word.